Hey everyone, it's Stephanie here, and today I have a video to share how I created the bookmark tassel that you see on this bookmark here. This is the bookmark that I created for the Simon Says stamp. This is the Life Release blog hop, and if you want to see how I created the bookmark, you can visit the link in the description below, and that will show you the creation of this area here. But for this video, I'm going to show how to create the tassel that I adhere to the top area of this bookmark. So you're going to need some string that you want to match the bookmark. I'm picking some twine in purple and white, and a piece of thicker cardstock cut to 5 inches square and then scored and folded in half. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to slowly start to wrap the thread completely around this cardstock piece. So I just started at the top area, and then I'm just going to keep going around and around. And you want to just go around until you have a thickness that you think you will be what you want for your tassel. So however much thread you put on is how thick your tassel is going to end up being when you're done. And then once you have it to the thickness that you think is what you want, you're just going to go ahead and take your scissors and snip the top area off there and lay this down onto your desktop, kind of making sure that it doesn't unravel. Then you're just going to take another piece of the same thread that you're using, so I have the same twine, and you're going to kind of push it through the cardstock piece. You can see it's kind of tight because you've been wrapping the string around, but you definitely can get it through there. And you're just going to pull that through and then pull it up in that open area of cardstock. Just remember, one half of the cardstock is open and one half has got the scored folded edge. And when you have that in there, you're just going to go ahead and slowly pull it down the cardstock piece so that the looped piece of string you just added is actually on the folded edge and not on the open edge. So you can see there I just kind of pulled it downwards. If you pull any of this string with you, just kind of push it back up with your fingers. And then once you have that onto the top folded edge, you're just going to go ahead and create a couple of really tight knots to tie all that string together. And I have really long string pieces here. You definitely don't need them that large, and it definitely makes it much more difficult to create the knots, but for some reason I left it super long there. Once you have all of that, those knots tied really tight on the top area, you're just going to take a really sharp pair of scissors and run it through the open area on the bottom piece of that cardstock and completely cut all that twine in half. And you can see now when I did that, I have this great tasseled piece, and all these great pieces of twine are completely adhered inside this tassel that I've created. Now you want to create a head on the top of your tassel. So to do that, you're just going to take another piece of string that matches the string you've been using. And once again, I kind of cut a really long piece that I didn't need, but for some reason, I guess that's what I felt I needed to do. So definitely go ahead and use a shorter piece. It'll be much easier to do your knots. And before you really tighten it on the top area, you just want to pull all of the pieces of the tassel to make sure none are caught up top. And then you can either loop it around a few times to give it a thicker piece on the top, or you can just tie it off in like 3 knots. So I actually looped mine around the top area of the tassel a couple times before I tied the knots. So now you can see here I have the great top area is all finished, and I have the pieces that I was using to tie around the top. Just pull those down into your tassel, and we're going to end up taking scissors and cutting the ends off of this anyway to kind of even everything out. So when you do that, you're going to cut all that excess string off that you don't need, and you're going to have a tassel that's perfectly all the same length and looks completely uniform. So I'm just using those same sharp scissors again and just snipping the edges off, and then just kind of going through and grabbing some other pieces, and now you have this great tassel piece. To adhere it to this bookmark, what I've done is I've cut out an additional bookmark that can be adhered to the back. I'm putting an eyelet into the whole area and adding this 2 string pieces inside. Now you can just go ahead and completely tie this off like this and just keep it as is, but I wanted to reinforce the bookmark with the back, and I didn't want to have any knot showing from the tassel, so I'm actually going to hide the string inside the middle area of the bookmark. So to do that, just leave your eyelet kind of hanging there for a minute. Add some adhesive to the inside area and just push that string down, making sure you have your tassel as long as you want it coming out of the top area of the bookmark. Once you have that string completely adhered down in, go ahead and add adhesive to the whole area of the second piece of the bookmark. You want to make sure it's really covered because you want to make sure it adheres down really well and doesn't come apart at all. So I'm generously applying adhesive to this whole area, including the top around the circle. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere this directly on top of this other bookmark piece. So now I've completely sandwiched that tassel area inside the bookmark, and you have no knots and can't see it at all. It looks like it just forms part of the bookmark. But to complete it, you still need to go ahead and set that eyelet so it's just kind of floating in space there. So to do that, you're just going to go ahead and push that into the hole area and just take however you set your eyelets. I use a crocodile tool. And just go ahead and follow the instructions for however you do your eyelet setting and go ahead and complete that. So now once I've set that there, it's completely tightened around that tiny little piece of thread that you can see in the back, and then my tassel comes floating out of that circle area perfectly. So I just love how clean and finished it looks without having any knots on top. And now you have a finished bookmark that's completely ready for all of your great summer reading. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.